Another week, another gaggle of right-wing terrorists go on trial. This time it's the turn of Heinrich the 13th, a blue-blooded berk in the dock for trying to bring down the German state, which he says doesn't even really exist. Welcome to the netherworld in the mind of the Reichsbürger. Also, the German government has come up with a plan to abolish homelessness. Will it work? Kanpai, which is cheers in Japanese.
In Berlin's heart, where news is unveiled, Megan and Conrad with German tales. The German news, it's tough to bear, but with Megacans, they're ready to head. Conrad, daily news at hand. Megan feels to spare time to crack those cans. With each sip she takes, the Meg is her shield, but will it last the news? 'Cause that was the deal.
Hello everyone, it's time for another Megan's Megacan. I'm Megan. We're here with the Berliner magazine. Sorry, it's the XX Berliner, but just the Berliner now magazine. And Konrad Werner is also here. Hello, Konrad.
Hello.
How are you?
Good.
You had a birthday.
Yes.
Happy birthday.
Thanks so much. What else happened?
What else happened? I was an hour late for this. No, an hour and a half late for this podcast, which is even worse. And I did want to apologise. And Conrad's a very good co-host, and he's just like, "Oh, that's fine," because I completely forgot we were doing it. But
Fine. I don't have a life.
but you do. You often have Friday evening plans, so.
No.
But to try and make up for that, I have a bit of a surprise. So, Well, I don't know. Do you remember when we did the Megacan testing?
Yeah.
In our long and rambling evening, which was amazing fun.
Yeah.
And some people might remember that the winners were some Japanese megas that an amazing listener had sent to us. And I found some Japanese Megacans in Karstadt today.
Oh my God.
I know. So it's probably one of those things that will happen in Karstadt for like 2 weeks and I'll get really excited and they'll never happen again. But these are, I don't know.
The old Suntories.
The Suntories. Now, it's not the one with the fruit on it that we didn't know that looked like a testicle. It's double lemon. But here you go.
Amazing. Oh. This made my day.
Well, I was like, I better bring it good. I can't just show up with a shite mega.
So it says,
and also 350 mils, 330 mils still. Thanks, Suntory.
Yeah, and 10% alcohol.
Yeah.
So fully qualifies.
What? Mit Shochu, eine traditional Japanese spirit?
Mine says vodka. Oh, vodka and shochu, yeah.
Oh, God, 2 spirit. Oh, fucking hell.
I don't know what shochu is. There's only one way to find out.
Wait, what? They get a whole lemon, freeze it at 196 degrees, crush it, pulverized and processed for What are they up to in Japan? What are they up to? Meine Güte. All right.
Experiments with lemons. Extreme abuse of lemons. Cheers. Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow. That's lemony.
It's very lemony, isn't it?
It's very nice.
Yeah, not as sweet, is it, as the normal ones we have.
They're still knocking out of the park, Megacan-wise, the Japanese, everybody, if you're interested. My God. Why can't we have this kind of globalization? Maybe we are. Maybe this would be good. Maybe we can have this one nice thing.
That's the one. This is the one thing that's supposed to make up for...
Fucking Elon Musk could destroy my favourite forests.
Yeah.
Fine.
You get a nice drink.
Every now and again.
You get a nice fizzy drink.
You get a fizzy drink in a can.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Okay.
So, speaking of Karstadt, what is going on? Do you know what's going on with Karstadt?
No, I can't bear to look. I can't.
Okay. I thought you might know.
My relationship with Karstadt is deep and complicated, and I love it deeply. I think it's not long for this. I'm talking particularly about the Hermannplatz one, because that's near where I live.
We need to do a Karstadt special at some point, because
I would just get too emotional, I think.
Because this company's insolvent.
I know. And then they shut a whole load of them down, and then it went merged with Galeria Kaufhof. And I'm simultaneously like really rooting for them. And then anytime I try and actually shop there, it's impossible. It's an impossible place. You can't buy a fitted sheet there that's not made of jersey material.
Okay.
Jersey material is the one that they use in youth hostels, or like divorced dads will have it in their flat on your kid's bed. No, you can't run a top-end department store and only have jersey sheets. That's fucking insane.
Only divorced dads go shopping in Karstadt, apparently.
If I could tell you how many jersey fitted sheets they have. Anyway, this is not...
This is not what...
Seems like I'm just ready to go on a Karstadt special, to be honest. But
We'll save that. We'll save that.
We'll save that.
We've got other things to talk about now.
Right. Speaking of things in Neukölln, how was your May the 1st?
I spent it on Tempelhofer Feld.
Very nice.
In the windy sunshine, eating a sausage.
Bloody gorgeous day, wasn't it?
Eating a sausage, having a radler, and talking to some people.
That sounds lovely.
My friends, not just random people. Yeah.
You weren't that guy on the field.
Just talking to... No.
Good.
It was lovely, yeah. It was beautiful. I mean, it's getting... The good thing about Tempelhofer Feld is no matter how many people are there, it's still never packed because...
It's fucking massive.
It's so massive.
Yeah.
It is, I mean, we were obviously near the beer garden section,
yes,
which was fairly busy, but you still had a sense of space around you.
This is why we cannot let the CDU build on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they're going to want to. Kai is just eyeing it up.
Yeah, base.
Yeah, it's lovely. Like, it's such an amazing... For anyone who doesn't live in Berlin, this is like a massive former airport that's now just like a huge park.
Yeah.
Right beside, literally over the road from another huge park.
Yeah.
Which is where I spent my May Day.
Oh, yeah.
Listening to some music and drinking 3 Megacans, which is an ill-advised number of Megacans. Believe me.
You went for the hat trick.
When you have work the next day and you think you're still 23 and you're like, I can do this, I'll be at home by 10. Yeah, you'll be awake with anxiety at 4 a.m. and you'll feel like absolute dog shit. But it was nice. But I didn't take any political actions. I feel a bit bad. Like, it's supposed to be a kind of protest day. But I also think sometimes for people who are like, try and be politically engaged and aware, sometimes it's nice just to have a day in the sun. And other people can go protesting on that day.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's an important part of activism. I believe Extinction Rebellion do a lot of care work for
Megacans in the park.
They always do this thing where they kind of cycle people in and out, so you're not always on it. You know, you have like downtime as well. I believe that a lot of activist movements take care of the soul a little bit more now. Yes. You don't want to burn yourself out. But was there much? Did many people get? No, apparently it was. You weren't the only one. It was a surprisingly peaceful May the 1st by Berlin standards. I read today the fewest arrests since the 1980s. There was only about 34 arrests out of 55,000 demonstrators, which is
probably arrested everybody already for trying to say maybe we could not do another genocide.
Yeah, could be the case. There was there was a march that went along from Südstern to Hermannplatz, but a lot going on. Anyway, I'm good. I'm glad we all... I think people feared that it would be a more troublesome one, but it wasn't as much as it could have been. I'm glad everyone... Well, I hope those 33 people or whatever it was. All right, so that was our May the 1st... That was on May the 1st. Non-update. This mega is absolutely delicious. Yes, and it's like lovely. Sweating in my hand because it's really warm here in Berlin, finally. And this lemon used to be at minus 196 degrees. I tell you, that's probably why the can's still cold, even though it came here on the M41. Okay, anyway, do you want to hear some other news, things that have been in the news? Right. Do you remember the Reichsbürger conspiracy to bring down the German government? I do. Now, let me try and remember which particular brand of right-wing nutbags these are. Oh, these are one of my favourites. Yeah. It's getting less and less acceptable to make these jokes, isn't it? Because... Well, yeah, that's the sort of the story of the Reichsbürger. They used to be kind of harmless cranks. And now we're like, oh, fuck. They're oh, shit, we're doing it again. Fuck.
took our eye off the fascist ball.
Yeah, now they're actual terrorists.
But the Reichsbürger call themselves the Reichsbürger because, according to their sort of ideology, the Third Reich never ended really,
Yeah.
and the the Federal Republic of Germany is not a legitimate state.
Yeah, it's not a country, it's a company. And they think that's...
I mean, it is, but not in the way they're going to think it is.
So, and their evidence for this, they have a lot of little bits of evidence for this, but one of the more interesting ones is, you know that a German ID card is called a Personalausweis, and it's not called a Bürgerausweis, which it could be called. And they think, because Personal is also the word for staff.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
So they say that is one of the proofs that the
so
Germany
like
does not
that
exist.
level of conspiracy theory.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot. It's kind of a bit complicated, but yeah, that's sort of one of their pieces of evidence that they say that Germany is not a legitimate state. It's it's still effectively an occupied country, and that is run as a company.
This is the occupation we're concerned
That is still effectively run by the Western Allies. And this conspiracy theory has been around since the 1980s. And as I said, for a long time, they were kind of just...
Yeah.
The people who believed in it were just, they're just like kind of middle-aged weirdos. No one really cares about them. You know, they refuse to pay fines. They refuse to pay taxes. They sometimes draw little borders around their driveway and their garden, and then declare themselves a state. You know,
there's a lot about that. That's
they
understandable to an extent.
They print little passports for themselves and then call themselves. You know, it's like because they just declare them and then declare that they're monarchs of this little country. They used to do that, and for a long time, people thought, "Oh, it's funny." These people doing that. And then...
in the way that we do this with white middle-aged men, whereas everyone, who keep killing everyone, by the way, the white cranks.
Fast forward to 2016, a man called Wolfgang P. shot dead a Bavarian state police officer who was trying to confiscate his weapons. He had a store of weapons, and he had his firearms license revoked, which the state can do. So they were trying to confiscate them, and he shot dead one policeman and injured 3 others, I believe, or at least shot at 3 others. And then in the same year, 2016, they were declared an extremist organization and put under observation by the Office for the Protection of the Constitution.
The Verfassungsschutz.
Yes. So that was 2016.
Known for their laser sharp focus on right-wing terrorism.
Yeah.
Laser sharp.
So that's when people started taking them a little bit more seriously after that incident. And then in 2022...
Didn't they try and... They were the storming the...
Well,
no, wait.
There's a couple...
Sorry, there was a few...
Easy to get...
Sorry, I'm jumping ahead here. It's 2022. Continue.
There was also... You're thinking of the Querdenker.
Yeah, but I thought they were Reichsbürger. Were they not...
So, yeah, we can go through that. So, during the pandemic, the Querdenker movement kind of gained ground because they were opposing all the lockdown measures and whatever. And the Reichsbürger kind of gained in traction at that time. So, that conspiracy theory about Germany not being a real country kind of gained traction during the pandemic.
God, people are really trying to find a workaround to have a fucking party, isn't it? Like,
yeah. So then...
This government isn't legitimate, you say?
Yeah.
I just don't want to wear a mask. I don't like how it feels on my nose. I can't breathe. Oh, God in heaven.
So, yeah, so there was that. And then in 2022, the police did a raid. December 22, they did a raid and seized 380 guns and several 100,000 rounds of ammunition, and arrested 25 people who were allegedly conspiring to actually bring down the actual government. And the reason why I bring all this up is because the trial has begun this week.
Okay, so what they're being tried for is this people that were arrested on that day conspiring to commit treason or whatever it is.
Yeah, be a membership of a terrorist organization. They're being charged on terrorist charges.
Okay.
And conspiracy to commit treason. And they are being accused by state prosecutors of planning to, amongst other things, arrest the chancellor, the key ministers, the opposition leader. Friedrich Merz was going to be arrested. They were going to raid the Reichstag.
He would be he'd be a quick turn, let me tell you. He's not gonna, gonna be, who was that? Patty Hearst? I'll be real quick.
Yeah. It was the Stockholm Syndrome. He'd be
like, yes.
He'd be like, take me. I'll can I be in your cabinet? Can I be a minister?
I've been thinking, or like, Friedrich, we haven't even closed the fucking door of this cell. Have a modicum of dignity.
Yeah. So they were gonna do all that, and then they were going to renegotiate Germany's position with the Allied powers of World War II.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah. So they were gonna renegotiate Germany's sovereignty with the Allied powers and create what they called a real country, I suppose. And do you remember we actually did a whole episode about this a couple of years ago about their ringleader?
God. Yes. Wait. Is he Heinrich?
Exactly, yes.
But Heinrich the something because all of his fucking brothers and cousins and everyone has the same fucking name?
Exactly. Heinrich the 13th.
Fuck me.
Prince Reuss. Here he is. Here's a picture of him.
Oh, please, God, yes.
On his way to court in Frankfurt this week. He's
right.
He's in his tweed jacket and his
mustard yellow trousers
and his handcuffs. And he was going to be the head of state of this new government. They had already, according to the state prosecutors, they already planned the whole thing. So they already had a justice minister set up, and the justice minister was, in fact, an AfD MP, an actual MP.
It's lucky we learned all those lessons. That we're so good at making sure that we have all of this constitutional protection against right-wing extremism. Yeah. That's great.
So, yeah.
How is anyone making that claim anymore? Sorry. Okay, so this lad, Heinrich the 13th, unlucky number 13.
Yeah, he is now about to stand trial in Frankfurt, and there were 2 other trials going on so they divided up the defendants, these 25 people, into, and but what I was going to say is, what is a little bit interesting about the Reichsbürger is that they kind of had a point until 1990.
Oh,
so
tell me more.
It's weird if you go into why they think what they think.
Okay.
You can kind of go, oh, okay. I understand why you think that. Well, this is kind of the thing
with conspiracy theories, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not, they come out,
Yeah, it's not based on nothing, but it is just wrong. They're just wrong, but it's sort of being, okay, I understand why they think that. So the German constitution, for example, is called the Grundgesetz, and what it's not called is a Verfassung, which would be the German word for constitution.
I always wondered why it was the Verfassungsschutz, but there's no Verfassung, the Schutzing.
No, it's called the basic law.
I'm a little bit drunk. This is the problem with me forgetting the mega. When I called you, I was already drinking a beer, so
the reason why it's called the Grundgesetz, the basic as the official English translation, and not the Verfassung, is because in 1949, when it was written down and framed and everything, they wanted to avoid the term constitution because Germany was divided and half of the country wasn't there, so they couldn't speak for all of the German people. And West Germany did not want to recognize East Germany. They did not want to what they wanted to do was they wanted to represent all the German people, and they did not consider East Germany a legitimate country. It took until 1972 for the 2 Germanys to recognize each other diplomatically and to recognize that they had legal borders. And that's one of the reasons why Bonn, for example, was always only ever considered to be a temporary capital, because they were one day we will be united again.
Okay,
it was always part of the West German. So that was one of the reasons why it was called the Grundgesetz and not the Constitution. And now it gets complicated.
Okay, good. I'm glad we're this far into our
So the final article of the German Basic Law says this basic law, since the achievement of the unity and freedom of Germany applies to the entire German people, shall cease to apply on the day on which a constitution is freely adopted by the German people. On a constitution freely adopted by the German people takes effect. And Until
Right.
1990, it was worded slightly differently, and it said that this basic law applies to the German people until the German people have a vote on it. The entire German people have a vote on it, and then it will be replaced. And that and what they did in 1990, rather than having a big referendum which would include all the German people and uniting everybody under all the German people, what they did instead was they just like changed the wording a little bit and included East Germany in West Germany.
And absorbed them into their constitution.
So that was considered...
Fuck me, reunification was handled fucking poorly. The more I learn about it, and obviously my knowledge is very worldly, I'm just like, what? What?
And this is where the Reichsbürger were like, well, this doesn't count then. This is, you've just changed the wording and you never asked the German people to, basically the promise of the original Grundgesetz was that when Germany is reunified, there will be a vote of some kind, or in some way the new constitution would be democratically legitimate, and that never happened. And what happened is that the parliament got together and they had a 2/3 majority, which was big enough to change the wording of the constitution, and then they just turned the basic law into what is still effective. It's effectively a constitution, even though it's not called a constitution. So there was.
They did change it.
They did
and
change it,
and they did it according to the other.
Yeah, it was legal.
Book.
But it just the Reichsbürger will say yes, but there was never a vote, and the vote is what it should have been legitimate from the. So there's that.
I think it's part of this whole like not very good handling of.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of things that happen like that with the reunification.
It was a whole fucking shit show.
Didn't really have, and in many ways, some people would say we're politically still paying the price for that.
100%, I would say.
And then the other thing was that there's no peace treaty. So have you heard this?
What?
So at the end of World War II...
Are we still at war? I'm going to be livid if the Second World War is still fucking going on.
So this is the other thing that the Reichsbürger keep bringing up, is that there was never a peace treaty between the Allies and Germany because Germany simply surrendered and the Allies took over and occupied the country, and there was no German government for 4 years. So... Because of that, the Reichsbürger said there was Germany is still effectively at war and it's under occupation.
Well, no, it's not still at war because you surrendered. That's the ending of the war.
Yeah, and the other thing that happened is that what happened was, instead of having a peace treaty, what happened is in 1990 there was a thing called a 2+4 treaty.
No, I don't. Right, I want to just go.
So that was the 2 was West Germany and East Germany, and the 4 were the 4 allies of the Second World War.
In 1990 this was?
Yeah, 1990 there was this treaty that effectively recognised Germany's sovereignty, and until 1990, the Allies did actually have certain limited powers in the 2 Germanys. In West Germany, they did have certain powers, like, there were still army bases and whatever, and there was... And those
like random schools in West.
So those rights that the Allies had were only formally given up in this 2+4 treaty in 1990. So that is one of the reasons why the Reichsbürger say Germany is not a legitimate state. But the 2+4 treaty is effectively a peace treaty from the Second World War.
Yeah, but that doesn't fit their sort of narrative. No. So they're like, no,
that doesn't count. They don't think that counts.
I really.
So there you go. That's
enjoyed you breaking down the very nerdy technical bits of this.
There's also the thing about Bundesrepublik GmbH, but I don't really understand that.
Is it Volkswagen? Because if they're not talking about Volkswagen, GmbH is like Inc. Is it? How do we translate?
It's officially translated as a limited liability company.
Okay, it's limited then. Sorry, not Inc. Yeah. But it's like basically like it means it's a.
It's an official company, and there is an organisation. There is a body called the Bundesrepublik Deutschland GmbH, but it's basically an agency of the government. It's wholly owned by the German government, and it's sort of in charge of money some way. I don't really know why exactly, but it's sort of
does seem strange.
But it's kind of like a company that it's a company that's in charge of Germany's money. and capital market transactions, whatever they are. That was sort of founded in 2000. The conspiracy theorists of the Reichsbürger say, you see, this means that Germany is not real. It's actually a company. It's not.
Right.
But they're wrong.
I'm assuming, and like, it's sort of, this is all like very technical and ridiculous, but also these lads had like a whole bunch of weapons and were going to and presumably their Reichsbürger thing goes hand in hand with a lot of very horrible other right-wing ideology.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of them are
that goes without
anti-Semitic and racist and all that stuff.
Lovely.
I mean,
anyone who wants the Third Reich to continue.
Yeah.
Anyone who reads The Fatherland by Robert Harris and goes, class.
Yeah.
That's what we want.
I mean, there's not very much. It's hard to say what the Reichsbürger think because they don't have an official organization. They're just a bunch of people who happen to believe this thing. This is a conspiracy theory. But there are certain groups and there are individuals.
Is this our like hashtag not all Reichsbürger thing? It's like some of them are.
Yeah. According to Verfassungsschutz, only 5% are classified as right-wing extremists.
Yeah,
but
I'm not sure I would take the Verfassungsschutz fucking spectrum of right-wing extremism particularly seriously.
So there is a certain overlap, and they are just deeply odd people who think that Germany should still be a monarchy, essentially. A Reich, yeah.
Okay, so the trial started, but nothing else has happened.
No, it's going to take them years. Probably end of sometime next year there'll be some kind of verdict.
You can come back to this and you can tell me it all over again.
They'll probably just let them all off, to be honest. I mean, I don't, because it's hard to prove what people were going to do. You know, I mean, that's the thing with conspiracy.
Well, I feel like when it's
how can you unless you have to have a piece of paper which says we are going to.
Sounds like they might have a piece of paper. They are German.
Yeah. They might have a piece of. Yeah.
This is the thing.
I think it's gonna. Yeah.
You think it's going to be a bunch of acquittals?
Well, I think they'll get a lot of because they definitely illegally hoarded weapons. That's definitely illegal, and they'll get some kind of prison sentence for that, or a fine or something. But I think with the conspiracy to commit treason, I just think I don't know. Like, how are you going to prove they were going to commit treason?
Yeah.
It just depends, like what I don't really know. It depends what emails they have, and of course, but their lawyers could just argue, it was just obviously it's totally unrealistic, and I
mean, it does sound like a bit silly.
Yeah.
So that's that.
How are you still getting on with this Suntory?
Really enjoying this Megacan, and it is very potent, I think.
Yeah, it creeps up on you. Okay. I got another story.
Okay.
Last week, the German government, specifically the housing ministry, has come up with an action plan, and their target is to eliminate homelessness altogether, completely.
Class.
By 2030.
By giving everyone a house?
Yeah.
What?
That is the plan, yeah.
Fuck
they want to give everyone a house.
That sounds good. Does it involve bussing people out of where they live to random places where no one wants to live?
No, I thought you were going to say camps, but no. No, it's not camps.
Okay.
It's complicated.
Right.
It's a 31-point plan. So,
oh, God.
But we're going to have to go through all 31 points. It's going to take ages. We'll be here all night.
Yeah, we haven't got any more megas. So we can't go through all.
Yeah. So this is the first time that any German government has ever come up with a national plan to tackle homelessness. It's part of an EU directive because, obviously it always takes the EU to get any government to do anything nowadays. But it's good, and it was like a lot of consultations with charities and NGOs and also homeless people's organizations, like organizations that are represented by homeless people. The minister in charge is Clara Geiwitz, the housing minister of the SPD. And I did talk to a couple of the homeless people who spoke to her, and they were very complimentary. They said that she was very well prepared, she was very respectful. She took us really seriously, and she listened to us. I mean,
I mean, that's a low bar, but I'm glad they at least got that. Fucking hell.
And they said that, this was this was very important, and the NGOs and the whole of the civil society organizations said that we've been calling for this for years, and we're really glad that the government has come up with this plan.
Is this good? Is this good news?
Well, I wanted to give you the good part of the news.
Let's not look at the 31 points. Conrad, let's just have a little bit more drink.
So...
don't make me look
that's
at
the good
ones.
part of it.
Okay.
So it's at least, and they were all saying, like, at least they've tried,
It also sounds as if
at least
maybe people were, if not consulted, then at least informed.
Yeah, they were consulted then, and then the government came up with this plan, and they published it last week. And these charities, they all said, yeah, okay, but now do it. They were like, okay, this looks really good, but how are you actually going to do it?
Okay.
So and then they said these 31 points, they were either things that the government was going to do anyway, or things that are already being done, or it's kind of like when you look into it, it's sort of like, okay, these are things that sound really good, and they're gonna and if the government actually follows these rules that they've set up themselves, maybe this will be really good. And they said that, at least it's something by which we can measure future governments by, like now we can say, okay, how far have you got with these plans? Because 2030 is pretty soon. 6 years. It's not very long time away.
Yeah.
To eliminate all homelessness. And also, should also clarify what is meant by homelessness. It's
what are they going to say when it's eliminated? Is this just people living in temporary accommodation, or is it that people actually have a home?
Yeah, the idea is to make people actually have a home. So what they've said is the target is, the other thing is that the federal government doesn't decide about housing. The housing is done by the state governments and local authorities. So state governments have an obligation to house everyone who wants to be housed. They have to at least be able to offer emergency shelters.
Yeah.
There should be enough emergency shelters in Germany to house everyone. That's like codified in law. But if you refuse that, or if you don't want to stay, because a lot of these places, a lot of emergency shelters can be very unsafe for people.
It just sounds awful.
You don't have, you're in a room with 20 other people often, and you don't have any privacy. So a lot of people live on the streets anyway. So according to this one charity, there are about 600,000 homeless people in Germany, of which about 50,000 live on the streets. So that's quite a lot of people to house in 6 years. And so the first point on the plan, for example, is this 18 billion euro fund over the next 5 years to build social housing, which is like rent-controlled housing, they
always want to build social housing.
Yeah, and they never can.
They never fucking do it.
And even in last year, the government had to admit it was quite a long way behind its target. Its target is 100,000 new flats a year, and they got to 22,000.
Jesus.
And even of those, they had to admit that 30-something thousand social housing, the lease agreements had run out, so they weren't no longer social housing. So they actually, it was like a net loss of 10,000. So they're behind this sort of,
This is just
anyway.
It's that's
so it's sort of the people I spoke to, they were sort of cautiously welcoming it, but they said that it's ambitious.
Yeah.
To house all these people, and the German language makes a distinction between obdachlos and wohnungslos, which we can't translate into English, but it basically means the difference between living on the streets and living without a home. So a lot of people live in, for example, refugee homes. They're counted as homeless in this figures as well.
Okay.
So, or people who live with their friends essentially are homeless.
I know in English,
there's no.
I think really what we're supposed to say is like unhoused.
Yeah,
but I don't think that's necessarily the same.
Yeah,
distinction.
There's some legal definition which involves if you don't have a contract for where you live, then you're effectively homeless.
Jesus. And like the amount of, not talking about maybe people living in a much more desperate situation, but the amount of people who are living somewhere where they're not on the contract, where they're not, like in Berlin, where we have a huge housing crisis. This is just insane. And the political will, I just don't think, I mean, it's nice that they've done this action plan, and hopefully, I'm sure that there are a lot of people working, you know, within government that really, really care about this issue. It's an issue that a lot of people care about. It's very hard not to care about it. But like in terms of like a general political will, no one gives a shit. Presumably, like, you're not going to get a ballot paper if you're not.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is that there were no, as one person formulated it to me, was that there were no points on this plan that weren't either already being done or would involve a change in the law or extra funding. You know, there was sort of everything was sort of like it's more like a position paper. It's what they call it was more like a like action, because they called it the action plan, which makes it sound like they were going to these were things that they could actually do that would take action, but it's really just guidelines for local governments that local governments still have to somehow organize for themselves, you know. And there were certain things that, so they could, you know, I mean, social housing is a big issue because homeless people just don't get into social housing as it stands. They just, you know, because there's not that much of it, and the people that do get it are just people who have an income that they can prove, you know, and they can get in, and it's like the homeless people are at the back of the queue for social housing. And
like, I can't even imagine when you are looking for an apartment in a capital city with a housing crisis, that is a part-time job. Like, it is exhausting. It is administratively very difficult. You have to have all of your documents. You have to organize your schedule around viewings. If you are already struggling, or you are trying to manage an addiction, or you don't know where your next meal is going to come from, or where you're going to be able to shower, and like, social housing is advertised, as far as I'm aware, like everything else, on these apps and everything. So you have to do all of that. It's not, I mean, I'm sure there's support and everything there, but the whole idea of having to deal with that administrative bureaucratic nightmare on top of, like, when you don't have a bathroom, like, what the fuck?
No,
you got to do more than this. You've got to do more than just what you're already doing.
I mean, the thing that really sort of struck me or hit home for me was this one. So I talked to this one charity woman from this initiative called Housing First Berlin.
I know of Housing First. So
that's like an international movement where they organize. Basically, if you apply with them, you get a flat. If they've got a flat, they can find one for you, and it's like no questions asked. It's not tied to any conditions, and that is considered, you know, a basic thing, and it's been quite successful. But obviously, there aren't enough flats for everyone.
It's, I think, on quite a small scale still as well in Berlin. Like, I remember I looked into this a little bit.
Yeah, and it started in the US in the 1990s, and it exists around the world. And so she was telling me that some of their clients, the people that come to them, have been living on the streets, and she said that one of them described it as being like you're in a war every day. Like every day, all you're doing is trying to survive. Yeah, and that is kind of unimaginable for anyone who's got their own house. Yeah, I think, and yeah. So there's and there are people who have been living in emergency accommodation for years at a time and who haven't found a place to live.
Also, probably, like, I think, and we've spoken to people on the show before who work in different temporary accommodations, whether it's like refugee homes or whatever. And I think there is with everything, like, a huge difference between different ones depending on how they're managed and how they're run and the system, the structures there. But like, anyone who's ever had to like sublet from pals, just, you know, and I know so many people who've been living like that in Berlin, and that takes a huge mental toll and a huge emotion. Like, you want to have your own place. Like we need homes.
So yeah, the principle of housing first is that that whatever happens, you gotta have a place to live, and having a place to live, having your own private space is a human right.
Yes.
And that is essentially the German government plan is to adopt that principle, but it's all in the implementation. The devil is in the details.
I mean, what I will to not leave this on such like a horrifically depressing note. At least what this government are not doing with this action plan is some kind of stupid tackling homelessness through drug rehab. Like, we're going to give more money to like other shit which just doesn't work, or we're going to have like police officers trained in giving counseling about like, or like they're actually going what their idea is the good one, which is housing first, which is like, do you know what? If you want people to get their life on track, maybe give them somewhere fucking safe to wake up in every day. And then maybe they could go and get a job or sign on meaningfully for benefits or whatever. So that's good.
Yeah.
It's just the implementation, which is a bit pie in the sky.
And it's not just money as well. This is the other thing. This is an interesting stat that I heard. That so apparently to pay for someone to live in emergency accommodation for a month costs the state €1,000. That's in like a massive dorm.
What?
That's how much it costs. So it's not. I mean, €1,000. You should be able to find a room in a real place to live. Like there is.
I honestly think
it would be cheaper to house them in normal houses. Is the point?
It is a huge problem, and honestly, I don't know that much about it. But I'm in like the sixth of my Megacan. If the political fucking will was there, if the funding was there, this issue could be a lot further down the road than it currently is. But it's not, because everyone wants to care about homelessness, and it's like, we will care about it to a degree, but when people then also worry about the idea of like, oh, well, why should they just get a flat for free? And then it becomes this, when they're just going to use it like, and we're apparently still at war with the Allied powers. So
this was supposed to be the good news story.
Fucking hell.
That was the good news. So anyway, that's what I've been doing all week.
Okay.
What else?
How long have we been talking for?
It doesn't matter.
The normal amount.
I never really know.
I have spies written in capital letter on my list.
Oh, spies. Spies like us. Well, I don't really know a lot about it, but apparently the Spitzenkandidat, the lead candidate for the AfD in the European elections coming up on June the 9th. Don't forget to vote.
No, I need to do a brief elector vote, postal vote. Jesus.
Oh, right. Okay. The leading candidate of the far-right AfD Nazi party was employing a Chinese spy for a while.
Yeah.
And it's kind of
got into... aide. It's been found out that an aide has...
And the thing is, the funny thing is that they have to keep this guy... In any other situation, he would have had to resign, probably. Even the AfD would have been like, okay, let's get someone else. But because it's already election time, he's legally still on the ballot. So even if they sacked him, he would have to still be on the ballot because it's his name. So they decided to sort of stick with him.
Wow, this is some real thick of it. Stuff.
They can't get rid of him. And the other thing is, so he's sort of, but they kind of he's kept his head down a little bit more than normal. Because, it is bad. I mean, it is treason, sort of having a spy. And it does look bad for a nationalist party.
Is this our fucking bar now? I mean, it is treason, but as far as the AfD's ability to do treason goes, it's kind of what the fuck is happening?
So, yeah.
Okay.
So
and weren't there some other lads who were doing something for Russia?
Oh, yeah, that was just Russian spies. They were just a common and garden Russian spies.
Garden Russian spies.
They were caught and they're now on trial. But I think they were actually part of the Russian community in Germany, so I think they might also have been German. But they are on trial for, I believe, preparing explosives and planning attacks on German military installations inside Germany, I believe.
Okay.
But so there have been some spy stories going on, so which is always quite exciting. Do you like spy stories?
I mean, I like them when they're in the past, like sort of Cold War.
The John le Carré.
Every time I go up the TV tower, which has happened exactly twice, but it seems like very, because it's so 70s, obviously. And you just feel like everyone should be like carrying a little briefcase until just when you're queuing, that's a very 70s bit. The actual bit upstairs is.
Yeah, spying is a bit boring now because in the digital age, isn't it? It used to be really more exciting with
documents like
and,
briefcases and everything.
A microfiche.
What's a microfiche?
You know, like a little.
Oh, like a little recording device.
Like a little.
Yeah,
camera.
everyone just does everything on their phone now. It's like.
Yeah, it's a bit boring now.
God, we can't have anything nice. Okay.
So maybe if you
I
go
feel like I've ruined all. Like, this was actually quite interesting, and I don't know. It's nice that the government has policy of housing for, like, it is.
Yeah.
Spy's bad.
I mean,
but also,
CDU
why are
would
we
not have done
fucking
that.
surprised that the AFD are doing weird shit? Like, what? To destabilize, like, democracy in, like,
Yeah, I
Germany.
mean,
Like,
they're
how are
absolutely-
we...
I mean, they couldn't be. They're absolutely an anti-German party in many ways. I mean, they're against. This. They want to negotiate with
Germany
Russia.
likes to see itself, but maybe it really is the fucking.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not going to go into that.
No, let's not. How has your? It's called a minus 196, by the way. Double lemon Suntory.
Yeah, that's because they freeze the lemon at minus 196 degrees.
But yeah, and I think they
which is really cold for a lemon.
It's cold for anything.
It's cold for anything, but it must be especially cold.
How was it?
Oh, delightful.
It's absolutely delicious.
I'm really enjoying it.
I'm
still enjoying it.
Quite drunk with the two spirits made with natural lemon. Honestly, fucking European megas take no. I'm going to become not a spy, like a shill. Like an acceptable spy
for Japanese
drinks companies, since no one wants to give me. We've been doing this content for years, and no one's offered us a single fucking cent.
Not a sausage
from the Megacan companies. Suntory, if you're listening, I'm listening.
Great. Well, I think we should end there.
We should. Thank you very much for the news, Conrad.
Thank you for listening.
I didn't want to, but I did it anyway. Thank you. Take care, everyone.
Bye. Follow us on Patreon. Do his Patreon stuff. Give us money.
Patreon.
I keep forgetting to do that bit. Other podcasts, they do like they interrupt halfway through, and they go like, by the way, if you're enjoying this, why not? And then I always
really
forget.
Do some like marketing and stuff, because I think we have a nice thing going on. Maybe people would like to hear it.
Why
don't you share it with a pal? Share the Megacan with a pal, everyone.
Yeah, rate us on whatever you rate things on.
We need to work on this. We've got
to work on the marketing.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Take care, everyone. Stay safe.
Bye.
Bye.
Megacan, German news in English with a cocktail can. The German news, it's quite a test. With Megan's Mega, you're feeling refreshed. Ooh. Megan's Megacan, German news in English with a cocktail can. Deutsche Nachrichten sind düster und schwer.
Defy the fear.
Yeah.
It's actually it's quite a positive message to give to people.
So.
I like to think that we have quite a positive impact on our listeners.
I hope so.
Because we try and get them to defy the fear of listening to the news all day.
I mean, it's better than reading a German newspaper. Surely.
I would definitely recommend listening to our podcast more than reading any German newspaper.
German newspapers barely have pictures.
No.
Like fucking, it's just a brick of text.
Oh yes. And they seem to make a virtue of it. They think it's like so great to have no text.
Not like you Americans
pictures.
with your fucking
Colour pictures.
decadent pictures in your newspapers.
Yeah,
What's that? A crossword puzzle? Oh, no wonder you had Trump. Jesus Christ, everyone! Like, there's a middle ground.
You have to concentrate on the news. It's very important. And you have to like keep this there.
Just have a mega.
Have a mega. Give us a picture every now and then.
Just a wee picture, maybe of,
yeah.
a diagram.